Hi, and welcome to Better Boating in Connecticut. I'm Jerry Desmond. I'm here with my co-host, Wendy Flynn. We have two very special guests with us today. First, a Coast Guard Auxiliary District Staff Officer of Education, Steve Perrone. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Tim Tyler, he's the District Education Officer for the United States Power Squadrons. Welcome.
Thank you, Jerry.
And today we're excited to have our guests here, Wendy and I, to have our guests here today. Both these organizations work very closely with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection in the effort to make safer boating, create safer boating on the water, educate the boating public, and make all of our boating fun and safe out there. And we wanted an opportunity on the show here to let these gentlemen talk about their organizations and the great work that they do, not just in Connecticut, but nationally. So again, welcome, and let's see if we can learn some great info from this group.
Right. So Steve, I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about the mission of the Coast Guard Auxiliary and maybe the size of your, how big is the auxiliary?
Well, we're talking about a national organization, and the auxiliary itself has over 29,000 active members, active auxiliaries throughout the country. And we work directly for the United States Coast Guard. Now, to compare us in numbers to the Coast Guard has 42,000 active duty members, active duty service members nationwide. So we're a pretty good sizable augmentation to the Coast Guard. Our basic tasks have been made towards recreational boating, and we're responsible for doing most of that part for the Coast Guard in terms of education, vessel safety checks, conduct safety patrols. We are active actually on the water with the Coast Guard too. We augment the Coast Guard in their safety efforts as well, including everything except law enforcement, which we are not permitted to do. Auxiliaries are subject to the direction from the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. We work under orders when we're underway on the water. And we're basically not a separate organization, but actually part of the Coast Guard itself.
Okay, that's great. So we might, a boater might see you out on the water. You might aid, in some kind of help if something was needed, something like that?
We do work with the Coast Guard for that. There's a joint effort, but we also work singly out there. Boaters do approach us if they have any issues that they need assistance on. We have been responsible for a number of safety efforts throughout the course of an active year. Looking this up on a national level, I found some statistics that are rather interesting. We do as volunteers, now understand we're a completely volunteer organization, we have done over 4,500,000 hours of volunteer work in the course of a year. We've done over 500,000 missions in a year, saved 500 lives. This is in 2016. Assisted 15,000 distressed vessels and performed 150,000 vessel safety checks.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's a pretty active organization throughout.
It certainly is.
Yeah,
All right.
very valuable.
Well, thank you for sharing. So Tim, maybe you could, we can switch gears a little bit and talk about the Power Squadrons. Can you talk a little bit about the mission of the organization and, your size as well?
Sure. Well, we also are a national organization. Currently, we have over 30,000 members, which makes us the world's largest recreational boating organization. We, at a national level, we break down the organization into districts. There are 33 districts, and under those districts, there are approximately 400 squadrons. For instance, my district, District 1, has 13 squadrons, and it covers most of the state of Connecticut, also Westerly, Rhode Island, and Springfield, Massachusetts. As far as the mission of our group, our primary mission is safety through education. We also are into community service, and we are a social organization. So we have both on the water and onshore type activities for our members. For instance, some of our on-the-water activities include cruises, rendezvous, sail races, navigational contests, even fishing derbies. And on shore, we have members meetings, and this is mostly off-season because during the boating season, nobody wants to be stuck inside. So we have marine-related programs. We do parties, dinner dances, picnics, field trips, that type of thing. Yeah, we feel that these experiences can, be rewarding for both novice members and experienced boaters. It helps share boating knowledge.
Great.
Nice.
So Steve was saying that, the auxiliaries get their orders from the commandant. Do you guys work closely with the Coast Guard? Are you separated? Are you, if someone were to see you out on the water, if they needed help, could they reach out to you? How would that work?
Okay, well, we aren't actually associated with the Coast Guard or the Coast Guard auxiliary formally. The only connection we have is basically through our vessel safety check program.
Okay.
But of course, while we're on the water, anyone can approach us. It's one of our things that obviously we want people to be safe on the water, and we help anyone we can, whenever we can.
Great. Steve, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the structure of the auxiliary. There's flotillas.
The way we're actually broken down is it's similar to the Power Squadron in that respect. We have flotillas, are called, as individual units, and those are the local units. Area of operation is, for example, my personal flotilla is in Milford. We cover the Milford area. We actually go towards West Haven. But our AOR on the water is actually a good portion of Long Island Sound. We actually run safety patrols on the water. We're not as social as the social activities as the Power Squadron is, because the only way that boat moves is under orders from the Coast Guard.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we can't use it for any social activities, and we don't. But working with the Coast Guard, we're also involved in a lot of any type of search and rescue, actual training with regular Coast Guard on the water as well. We actually train with them, and they train with us. We using our boat along with their boats to do on the water training.
All right, great.
So, but as the structure of the Coast Guard auxiliary is concerned, we start with our flotillas, which are the guys on the ground that are actually doing the classes, doing the training, doing the work. And then we go up to a division level. In Connecticut, we have 3 divisions. We have 18 flotillas in Connecticut. The actual total membership on that is 614 members in Connecticut. And then we go to a division level. The division level is 3 divisions in Connecticut. So the flotillas will report by their location to the division level. Division level reports to a district. We report to D1 for Southern, which is also part of our home base for the Coast Guard, which is out of Boston, actually. And we have quite a bit of people involved with that section alone, because there's 15 divisions in our area, and that involves almost 3,000 members.
All right, great.
Just in that alone. So it works right up the chain as we deal through everything, and then we go on to the national level as well.
Wow, these are both great organizations. So thank you so much for talking about both of them.
Listening to the descriptions of both your organizations and the size, and it sounds to me like both of your organizations are really, really important for the safety of boaters nationally. That I'm sure that a lot of the Coast Guard and law enforcement people, they need a supplement out there, because there's so many boaters, and so much activity that you've both identified that you both work on an annual basis that without your organizations, I'm sure there would be a shortfall in safety, and who knows, maybe a lot of accidents or injuries may be occurring, and your efforts should be commended, both your groups, and I'm sure you're valued very much so by the federal government and the Coast Guard. And both of your organizations, people can get involved in. Both of you got involved at one time or another. Maybe you could take a minute to talk about how you got involved and what it takes to get involved, and what that commitment is and what the process is. And Tim, maybe I'll start with you on this one and move over to Steve. So, how does one become a part of the Power Squadron?
Okay, well, when I became involved, I think it was in '69. I was 18 years old. Just purchased a boat, believe it or not, at 16. And my uncle told me that before I went out in the water, I would take a Power Squadron course. He was big into education and safety, and that's how I actually joined the organization. So I was a member for quite a while. But just recently, I got more involved with the organization by becoming a bridge officer for the Hartford Power Squadron. I started out as an assistant educational officer, and I got involved on that level.
Yeah, if I may, you said you took a course and then became a member. Not everybody that takes a course has to be a member.
Okay.
Right? Am I correct?
You are correct.
You serve educating the public in general so that they can go and they can obtain their boating licenses or certificates, if you will, so they can operate a boat. But if there's an interest and they do go to a class like you did, how does that process work? How do they get involved that way?
Okay, so if they want to become a member, when I started out, you had to take the basic boating course that the Power Squadron offered. You were invited to become a member, and then they would vote and bring you in. Things have changed over the years. Now you need to have taken a basic boating course to become a member, but it does not need to be a Power Squadron course. It could be a course that the state offers, Coast Guard Auxiliary, any safety course.
So that opens up opportunities for people that may have the education and they don't have to take the course over again, but it allows you to recruit for that special effort in helping out with educating the public and
that's correct.
Boating safety.
Yeah, that's correct. So you can apply. We have applications online. If you come to a local meeting or you go on our website, you can find applications and you can become a member that way.
And it also sounds like in your group, there's a lot of social activities that take place too. There's a lot of camaraderie and issues like that people might come on not just to serve the public, but also because they become part of a team of people that get together periodically to recreate on their vessels or have opportunities to go to events, and that might be a draw to people too. It's a social opportunity to meet other boaters and learn that way as well, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. You're absolutely correct there. We are big into the social aspect of boating. Nice. We feel, by getting together, sharing experiences, that type of thing, it makes us all better boaters, and it makes boating more enjoyable for everyone.
Very nice. And Steve, how about your organization? We can talk about how you got involved and how people can do that.
Well, I got involved because I took a Coast Guard Auxiliary boating class, and that was 1988, 1987. So I've been active in the auxiliary now for just about 30 years. And it's a little bit different to get into the Coast Guard Auxiliary. The Coast Guard Auxiliary, because we are a member actually of the Coast Guard as well, it's like I say, it's not as social and a group as the Power Squadron is, and to get into the auxiliary requires, first of all, you have to be at least 18 years of age or older, and the other part of it is we have a basic qualification. We have to test you have to take. You also have to go through a complete security and background check, because we do operate, like I say, under direct orders from the Coast Guard. So everybody has to have that. We have to go through mandated training, incident command
Yes.
courses.
Yes. ICS courses.
All the ICS, there's a number of ICS courses that we're required to take, more so if you want to become a coxswain. They just add to that in terms of the ICS command, incident command. So there's a lot of things that you have to do to actually become a qualified member, a basically qualified member of the auxiliary. And then, of course, if you want to even operate a private boat as a operational facility, become a coxswain or become a crew member, it isn't just saying, well, I'm in the auxiliary, I want to go out on the water. No, we do the same basic crew training that the Coast Guard it does itself, and it's not something that can just be done in a few classes on the water. It takes a serious time of just not only in-house but on the water training that has to be done by qualifying examiners as we go through the training. And if you want to go on to become a coxswain or a vessel operator, it requires additional training. So
Sure.
it's not an easy path to get through to that level. But if you want to just become a member itself, it's not that hard to do, and you can start there, and you can wind up doing a lot of things in the auxiliary ahead of actual on the water stuff, and that would be things like boating education and safety checks and being qualified to do all the other things that we do. Because some people don't want to be on the water, but they want to be in the auxiliary. So that's important to understand. You can do both.
Well, it sounds like both organizations have great opportunities for people that are boaters that want to give back and be,
Exactly.
the organizations that both of you have can give that opportunity for people that you want to help keep the waters safe. Before we move on here, we're going to take a break for a minute. It's been great so far. We're going to go to a public service announcement. And when we come back, Wendy and I have some more information we'd like to get from you so the public
do.
can, again, enjoy both your organizations and become knowledgeable. We'll be right back.
We love it.
It's so much fun!
It's exciting.
Esto es vida.
Why do I have to wear a life jacket?
We wear it to be safe.
I've got mine on.
We're teaching our kids about safe boating.
Cogí un pescado así de grande.
We all love this life.
Wear it and love the life. This message brought to you by the National Safe Boating Council.
Hi, and welcome back. We are joined by Steve Perrone of the Coast Guard Auxiliary and Tim Tyler of the United States Power Squadrons. And gentlemen, I'd like to talk a little bit about the vessel safety checks. I know that we, the Deep Boating Division, we have seasonal employees that go out to our state boat launches to conduct vessel safety checks. And I know sometimes we encounter you guys, sometimes at the boat launches, sometimes at a marina. And I just wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about what your organizations do for, about the vessel safety checks. So, Tim, since you're closest, let's start with you.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, in cooperation with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, squadron members conduct courtesy vessel safety checks. And these checks are done at the request of their owners. They're free, they're voluntary. Anything that is done or comes to light during an inspection that would cause you not to pass it, let's say you don't have the appropriate number of life preservers or that type of thing. These things are not reported anywhere. We give you a chance to correct them and then reapply and hopefully get a yes.
Decal.
Decal, there you go.
Yeah, the decal we all
Get a
give out.
decal on your
Yeah.
boat. So that's the basics of the program.
All right, so you would typically be, kind of go through like the marina office or something like that. The boaters would contact the marina owners, or they'd contact you directly through the website or a phone call?
Sure, there is a website, a safety check website, I believe. I think it's run by the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Is it?
On the
It's
national,
on the
on
website,
the
yeah.
national level, yes.
There you go, yes. And so you can apply through there. You can apply on our national website. Many squadrons have a way to have you apply on their own websites.
Okay.
Sometimes we do outreach programs at like marinas. We say, This coming weekend, we're going to have a vessel safety check program here. Let your patrons know that we'll be here, and we let people either register ahead of time or they can walk in.
Awesome.
If you don't, if we're doing an on the water type of thing, you can pull up your boat in a trailer, whatever. We'll inspect them any way we can get to them.
All right. Great, thank you.
Okay.
So, Steve, can you talk a little bit about your vessel safety check program?
Actually, I think in the vessel safety check program, all three of us are using the same certificate, the same decal.
Yes.
Yes.
Right
Yes,
now.
we do.
And we all pretty much follow the same steps that are involved in going through a safety check. The auxiliary does a lot of them because of our location of all our flotillas right along the Long Island Sound, right along the Connecticut shoreline. We do run a lot of safety checks right at marinas in the Connecticut area, and we'll notify them as a flotilla that we're going to be having one in a specific area. The other thing that we do is we have it on our individual flotilla websites, who we can contact or where we can contact somebody, because everybody can't make it to, a particular one that's on there that we're having that day, so we can make actual appointments with them. And we do get people that do come up to our vessel on the water and when we're running safety patrols and asking about having a check done. You might be able to get it done immediately, or we can set up an appointment to come back and see you later, or even go to your home if we have to do that. Our members are willing to do that with the vessel safety checks. We feel it's very important for the average boater to make sure that he has the proper equipment on board his boat, plus everything's working. How many have we found that the lights don't work? All right, they find that out at night when they go to turn them on. We want to make sure they work before that.
Right. All right.
Speaking of people coming up to your vessels to ask questions for help or inspections, both your organizations, I believe, have a flag or symbol on your vessels sometimes that are displayed that would allow people to say, oh, that's a Coast Guard auxiliarist or a power squadron related vessel. Is that correct? And if they're on the water, they can identify. Some people have private vessels that are identified, correct?
In the Coast Guard Auxiliary, in order for a member who has a vessel that wants to offer it for use by the Coast Guard, they have to fill out special forms that will allow them to do that. The vessel has to meet certain inspection standards.
Okay.
And if they're on the water as a vessel that's offered for use, it has to be under orders and it has to be flying a placard, has a placard on it that says United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, flying the Coast Guard ensign as well. Plus, it needs to have a qualified crew on board. So it isn't just a private vessel at that point. It becomes actually a Coast Guard vessel.
But in the same,
Ours is a little more simple. If you're a member, you get to fly our ensign.
Right.
We do have a national ensign. If you're familiar with the regular U.S. yachting ensign, it's similar in format. Instead of a blue field, there's a red field. It has an anchor with 13 stars, and it has vertical blue and white stripes. So that's how you would.
So some people out there might see participants with those, either the ensign or the placard on board the vessel, that they see, oh, you're out there and you're assisting when needed. The other thing is, I think I want to talk for a minute, is all of us, in addition to doing these inspections, we also, all of us do boating education. All of DEP, the power squadrons, the Coast Guard Auxiliary. It's one of our mainstays of our missions is to educate the public in boating safety. And both your organizations provide education above and beyond the basic education needed for participants to qualify for a boating certificate or a license. And often in our classes, we talk about other organizations that provide advanced classes, including both of your organizations. So maybe we can just take a second and just talk about a couple of the classes that you might teach. Since you're closer to me, Steve, I'll let you start this time. We can talk a little bit about some of the advanced classes that you teach above and beyond the basic boating class.
Well, the basic boating class that we teach, of course, is the one to meet the state requirement for a state boating certificate. The other classes that we do are basic navigation classes, and we've actually done more navigation classes in the past couple of years than we have in the past. We find more and more people interested in getting back to some of the basics of boating and learning how to navigate, quote, the hard way without the GPS. And we're doing a lot more of that. And we've also instituted some classes in, believe it or not, middle schools in some of the areas. I just completed a class grouping in a New Haven middle school with about 45 students.
Yeah, we had
there
talked
as well.
about that, you and I.
Yeah, about 45 students over there. And it's very interesting to see how well these young people will be doing in these classes, because we're trying to coordinate it into some of their regular educational programs like mathematics. And we're putting practical application to their mathematics by showing them how to actually navigate and do simple things like even speed, distance, and time, and being able to work it in the arithmetic part as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot with that, and of course we're dealing with a lot with paddlecraft today too, which is very, very important because it's such a sport that has grown dramatically in the past half dozen years alone. And with it, unfortunately, we don't have any mandated education on it, and which I think should be a top priority of everybody, starting from the Coast Guard on down.
Yeah, and you hit a couple, good points there. The schools, a lot of them going to the STEM programs and trying to take the STEM dynamics and applying them to everyday life, which you've tried to do there. And you've mentioned education in schools, and we too, we have instructors. We have a growing number of schools that we have actual teachers in the schools that we qualify to teach the course in the school, and they do them in curriculums. Some of them are doing as part of their science curriculum, part of their health curriculum. So that's growing too, and you and I have often talked about that in hopes that we can expand that going forward. So Tim, for a second, maybe talk a little bit about the advanced classes that your organization might offer as well, for people that might want to come and take some above and beyond the basic class.
Okay, there you go. Well, in addition to the 8-hour basic class, we also offer a 16-hour basic class, our basic boating class, which we've always offered. It goes into more aspects of boating than you can cover in 8 hours. It gets into things like anchoring and that type of thing. So there's that. Advanced courses, we have advanced courses in things like seamanship, piloting, plotting, position finding, celestial navigation, cruise planning, engine maintenance, marine electronics, sailing, and there's much, much more. And they're all taught by experienced member instructors. And members of the squadron who complete the courses are recognized as having done so through an internal grading order we have. So in addition to that type of classes, those are more lengthy classes that tend to run perhaps maybe 16 hours. We usually break them up over a number of weeks, 2 hours a night. So a lot of them will last you 8 weeks, but we feel the time is well spent. So there's that. But in addition to those, we have dozens of what we call seminars. And these are on topics such as anchoring, weather, cruise planning, using GPS, something we call partner in command, that allows someone, say the skipper's wife, who may not normally run the boat, in an emergency situation. It would give her some basics she needs to get that boat back to the dock so that she can, save someone on board. So we have those. And those seminars are offered both in a traditional classroom setting, and they can be taken online through our website. Generally, they require only about a 2-hour commitment.
And many of our boaters here in Connecticut appreciate those courses. We at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Boating Division offer people a coastal endorsement, an advanced endorsement on their regular boating certificate if they complete one of those advanced classes that have certain criteria that we work together on. If they take one of those courses that collaboratively we've approved with both your organizations, they can get that on their that endorsement on their certificate. When when they print it out. So we certainly appreciate you providing those opportunities for boaters. And thank you very much for that, those efforts there.
Absolutely. All right. So I have a question about your classes. I know at some of our outreach events, we're always trying to have people, put on a life jacket or, just give, a quick, hands-on tutorial of something. And, some people say they took a class. Some people, they're just happen to be at the event for something else. Now, do you guys do any kind of hands-on training at your classes, have, students try on a life jacket or, learn how to tie a knot or anything like that in your classes? I don't know, what's
Yeah,
Steve?
we do that. Well, first of all, our training center, where I am, we have all of this equipment available to us right there. We have an assortment of life jackets that you can see all the different types. And we also have the inflatables. That we actually have students try on, and we actually physically inflate them on them, which is rather interesting because it's amazing how startled they are when it goes off. But we actually do those, and we actually have a fire extinguisher simulator that actually can take a fire extinguisher that we have. It's a special one that's set up for it that goes to a screen, and you can actually put out a fire. Right there.
Nice.
It was a demo unit that was initiated a few years back at one of our district meetings. And we were fortunate enough to get it. So we have it right down there for us to use. Tying some knots or doing some other actual functions has always been good. Unfortunately, there's just not enough time in a day to actually do all the things you would really like to. As Tim was indicating, some of those things require some of the specialty classes that you do, where you can actually do, marlin spike as it's called, and dealing with knots and that kind of thing, or spending some time to get some of the more navigation portions of the class in depth. We have weather classes that can be held, just on nothing but weather and dealing with that.
Very nice. Awesome. How about your classes?
Okay, well, our classes are normally a PowerPoint presentation that the instructor gives that has all the key points. We just want to make sure everybody gets exposed to everything in the class. So we have those, but of course, additionally, we do things like knot tying and we use other educational aids to help get the point across. As a matter of fact, on a national level, we have a competition every year where squadrons submit instructional aids that they may have developed and actually used in class. It's required that they have actually used them. And we, present an award to the squadron that has the best educational award at the end of the year. So yeah, there is hands-on.
Awesome, great.
Okay. Maybe we can take a look at
Some of their
websites. Yeah, because I think just briefly we could talk a little bit about, take a look at your websites, and maybe you can just take a couple seconds to talk about some of the highlights and what they can find there before we wrap up our show today. I think that would be important.
So it looks like the
Coast
auxiliary
Guard.
one is up there on the screen. So Steve, you want to talk a little bit about the website?
Yes, I will. That's the national website under cgaux.org, and it'll take you to this site, and it's got a lot of good things for not only the public to use, but also for members to use as well. They actually have sections for that in there. If you want a safety check, you can click on that. It'll give you some locations and contacts in different areas throughout the country, taking you right down actually to an actual flotilla level, if you want to go that far. When you're looking for a class, you can do this basically the same thing, and just plug in a zip code. You plug in the zip code, and it'll come up with a number of flotillas that will be offering classes with their schedules, and you could pick out one that's convenient for you. Considering the fact that in Connecticut alone, we probably do pretty close to 100 classes a year. They're really widely scattered and easier to find that way. So you can pick classes that are convenient. for you to go to. Continue on, you have also information that we would use as members, and you can go and find out additional boating safety information if you're interested in finding out anything specific about a life jacket or some other device that might be available for you to use. And then, of course, they have about the auxiliary. So if you're interested in joining, go right to that website. You can get all the information you need to join our organization.
Fantastic. That is yeah, it's all right there, right? And if anyone's interested, they can definitely check it out there. So, Tim, let's take a few minutes and go through your website a little bit. There it is up on the screen. That's just a little portion of it. I did find this website very similar to the auxiliary. This one was very easy to use and easy to find things. I don't know if you want to take a minute and talk about the websites. We were talking a little bit before, and you said there was a couple different websites for the Power Squadrons. So if you want to talk a little bit about this one and then kind of go into the other ones, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that's good. Well, this website, much like Steve's, it offers pretty much the same type of things. There's an area for non-members, and there is an area for members where they can log in and get to more information and about the organization, and they can also perform administrative type tasks and that type of thing. As far as on the non-member site, again, similar information. There's a section that tells you how to join the squadron. There's a section on how to get to our educational classes. Much like the other one, you can put in a zip code, and you can select whether you want a basic boating course, advanced courses, seminars, that type of thing, and it'll break them down and show you anything that we might have at that time in your area. So again, very similar. But in addition to that, we have another website, and this one was developed and produced under a grant from the Sport Fish Restoration and Boating Trust Fund that's administered by the Coast Guard. And on that site, we have a lot of instructional videos. These are short videos, probably 6 to 10, 15 minutes, that type of things, on a number of topics. General headings would be like planning your day on the water, your actual departure, what you would do underway, and what you do on arrival. So a bunch of different skills, and this is something that is updated on a periodic basis. They mostly, work on videos all summer long, and then they'll post them in the fall.
Great.
Very nice. Okay, well, we've had a very informative session here with both of you. And both of you are here in Connecticut, and we want to thank you both for coming in today. And as the boating education team at DEEP, as part of that team, we have others. Obviously, Yolanda Cooley's here, Mark Chansky's with us, but they're not here today. But as our team goes, we want to thank both of you. We're very lucky to have both of you. We work together all the time with your instructors, our instructors, helping each other make sure that all of the students get enrolled and they get loaded in correctly so they can get their boating certificates. We work together all the time, and we're lucky to have both of you in our state with us, and we certainly appreciate that. And I think all the great work that both your organizations and ours as well, frankly, over the years, the work that's been done has made boating safer over the years. And I think, and we've talked about this before we went on air, we talked a little bit, that the boating public is getting safer and they're getting more safety conscious. And that's why you see people talking about advanced classes and on-water training and all those initiatives that we're all trying to keep moving forward. So again, thank you both for being here. Wendy and we had a great time today.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll be working diligently again this summer together, and I hope we have many years to come together because you've been a great team for us as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching our show, and safe boating when you're out there. We always end by little thing we say, we say to wear your life jacket. So if we could do that all together, that might be really great. It's kind of fun. We say, so what we always say together is always wear your life jacket, right? So, all together,
Always wear your life jacket.